So we've been talking about Christian faith as cosmic, um, at least in my childhood experience, the way it sort of communicated itself to me through these stories, and also timeless. I want to talk about something that was got across to me in another way um, that showed me really, I guess, the Christian faith as essentially mystical. My brothers and I went to a pretty harsh boarding school. It was a good boarding school, and we weren't abused in any way. But mind you, there was physical punishment, which today would be considered abuse, but in those days was part of the normal world. Um, and so when I was 15, 15 usually was the age way back then that you would get confirmed, and you would have confirmation classes for much of that school year. School year began in September, went until summer term, like any school year, even today. But the special thing for us that year was that the classes were taken by the rector of the parish, and and also he asked the headmaster if we who were going confirmed, there were about a dozen of us, um, guys my age, could go to the rectory each Thursday afternoon. I always remember it because it was kind of a magic time. It was an oasis in a very harsh world because his wife would give us pop and we would get some cookies, and he would sit us on the carpeted floor of his study, and in the winter there would be a fire. All the sort of hominess that was missing in the school. And so I always remember one day, actually the rector, he was very unlike our headmaster. Headmaster was huge, at least to us at that time, international rugby player, very tough, very, very kind of loud and tough and strong and all of those things that would be intimidating. But the rector was very opposite. He was very gentleman, very soft-spoken, very fine-boned face. His gestures were sort of gentle and graceful. I'm trying to make a picture of opposites, if you know what I mean. And I for one, really enjoyed those classes. But one thing I'll never forget is that one day he said, "Look, I want you all to get those prayer books that I put there." So we all reached for the prayer book, and then he said, "I want you to turn to such and such a page." And so we all did. And then he said to one of us, I've forgotten who, wasn't me, said, "I want you to read what's just halfway down that page." And so here's what one of us read. "With angels and archangels, and with all the company of heaven, we laud and magnify thy glorious name, evermore praising thee and saying, Holy, 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 Lord God of hosts, heaven and earth are full of thy glory. Glory be to thee, O Lord Most High." Now, to anybody who's sort of au fait with that kind of thing, that's part of the Eucharist or the communion service. And it's said just around about the time that people are going to take communion. But after one of us had read that in the study that day, the rector deliberately paused just to let that echo in our minds. And then he read the first part of himself. He said, "With angels and archangels, and with all the company of heaven, we laud and magnify God's glorious name." And he said, the next time you're in church and you're sitting facing the large window that will be the large stained glass window, I want you to imagine that when we say those words with angels and archangels, that the great window fades away and the wall of the church fades away, and you look out onto an endless, endless, vast vista, and you see every living creature who has ever lived since the beginning of time, and every living creature that has lived, that will live until the end of time, and all kinds of creatures, humans, animals, birds, angels, archangels, everything, and they are all singing a great song of praise to the one who creates. And that happens when you say those words. And then when you've ended saying them, the window comes back, the wall closes off, and you're once again back in church. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that to this day. That it got across to me. Remember I was saying John Brennan's story, the Christian faith is cosmic, the well with all its elements of the infinite pagan past, the falling water, the magic pool, the well, the orifice of the goddess down into the earth, all of that making it timeless for me. That moment in the rectory made it mystical. Cosmic, timeless, mystical.